Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. It's a little loud out here because I'm in my backyard, but it's really, really nice, so I couldn't help but to sit out here and answer some questions. I wanted to go live because I want to talk about my book, not just my original book, which is Adam is God, Eve is Us. It's out anywhere that you can buy a book. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target. It's everywhere. If you haven't had a chance to read it, I will tell you because I wrote it. I think it's a good book. But I'm pretty certain that you'll enjoy it. But my next book's coming out here pretty quick. In the process of actually editing it now. And while I'm editing it, it made me realize I should probably do a live and talk about my new book that's coming up. It's called Puppies and Napalm, The Extra-Dimensional Madness of the Prophets. And I went to the movies last night, and one of the things I noticed was how many different trailers there were about movies that had multi-universal kind of things besides Doctor Strange. There was some other movie, too. It was kind of interesting. I think that's kind of a theme right now. So hopefully that gets people's attention. That was kind of my intention. But it also means something. I mean, because I talk a lot about what I mean by extra-dimensional. It's things that a lot of Christians don't like to think about or talk about. And a lot of times I think that's why it gets them in trouble, because they try to utilize their understanding of this dimension to explain things that are definitely not from this dimension. One really good example I love is in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, when he runs into this strange creature that theologians call them Ophrims, and kind of tying into the seraphim and the cherubim. But that word, I mean, I've never seen it in the Bible. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you've seen it there, let me know. But it's this weird creature with wheels and eyes all over it. It's crazy. And so, obviously, not something that we understand in this dimension. But, Ezekiel, he understood. He knew what was up. So I'm going to try to watch the questions down here. And if you do have any questions about my book, Adam is God, Eve is Us, strange stories about aliens, angels, and the love of God from the book of Genesis, or about my new book coming up, Napalm Puppies. I did want to start out, I like including a lot of poetry in my books, just because a lot of times I don't want people to think they're reading a scholarly, I can't even say that word, a scholarly book. It's not that I didn't go to college for all this stuff, because I have. I actually, Liberty University, School of Divinity, I know a little bit about the Bible. But I wanted to make sure that it was more of a piece of art than it was actually just something that I wrote. So I'm going to start out with this poem that I wrote, and this is in my new book, Puppies and Napalm. The name of the poem is So Long, Sweet Sweater Man. Enough. That might lose a few people, but let me read this to you. Say goodbye and sit back in your easy chair. Take a deep breath and wonder why. As you doze back into complacency, turn on the TV and sulk in this apathy, while the world around you is crumbling, and the sounds of a lost generation rumbling, humbling the thoughts so far from your head, and the memories that are left. Say goodbye, stop time and step out into a moment of times gone by, before you gave up a reason to wake up, and lost the life that you have to make up. And remember the time, if you can, the memories of endless days and much smaller hands that understood life in an easier way. He made us understand the simple way. So long, sweet sweater man. Your comfy shoes will not be forgotten. Like the smile you shared and cared for the world of forgotten children, lost without hope of love, yet from above shone down through your face in this place where you wait for your neighbors to come again. So one last time, say goodbye to a childhood past that left too fast to hold on to, that left before they could know you, when softer days and happy ways and bright sunshine days faded away, and everyone had a song to sing, a tale to tell, and gifts to bring. And for a moment remember this time that left us at the end of February and grew up and grew on to better things, leaving this memory unlike us. So long, sweet sweater man. Your comfy shoes will not be forgotten. Like the smile you shared and cared for the world of grown-up children lost without hope of love, yet from above shone down through your face in this place where you wait for your neighbors to come and see you again. Goodbye, mister. Now, I wrote this poem actually, and I was thinking about it because it actually was written around the end of February long time ago, like 20 years ago, I think. And one of the reasons I actually wrote it was about Mr. Rogers. I grew up on Mr. Rogers, and one of the reasons I wrote it is because the world has become so much more complex. You know, I don't know, maybe this is the old man talking here, but things were a lot simpler back in the day. Not better. I think, you know, I love technology. I wouldn't be doing this right now if we didn't have technology. Just life was simpler. You know, things, you had time to figure things out, time to understand things, you know. So I am here to answer your questions. If you have any questions about my book, Adam is God, Eve is Us, Strange Stories About Aliens, Angels, and the Love of God from the Book of Genesis, or my new book, Puppies and Napalm, The Extra-Dimensional Madness of the Prophets. I just finished reading a poem from it. I'll probably read another little excerpt here in a moment. But one of the things, you know, this might be fun. I'll talk about anything, by the way. I went and saw the Batman movie last night. Amazing movie. You got to see that movie. It's awesome. I used to say that The Dark Knight was my favorite Batman movie. Never really cared much for Ben Affleck. Never really cared much for those Batmans. But I would put this one above it. I would put this one above The Dark Knight. It was amazing. It was a noir detective Batman, and that's the Batman I remember from the 80s, you know, when I used to read Batman, so I loved it. If you want to talk about Batman, we'll talk about Batman. Talk about anything. I also wanted to talk to you about another really interesting subject that probably a lot of people don't talk about, especially Christians, is the concept of Christian anarchy. And a lot of people don't know about Christian anarchy. A lot of people don't understand Christian anarchy. And from the world that we live in now, I believe that Christian anarchy is probably the most important thing that we can be looking into. Just looking around you and looking at the atrocities that people in leadership are, it just blows my mind that we so easily give away our freedoms to leaders, to government, to state. When you see what they do, it was warned in the Bible. Sorry once again about the background and everything. I'm in my backyard. It's just beautiful out here, so I wanted to sit out here for a little bit. But when you read in the Bible about when Samuel, in the book of Samuel, the children of Israel were crying out to Samuel, the judge at the time, and they said they wanted a king like all the other countries around them. And Samuel's like, all right, I'll go pray. You know, God said he'll give you a king, but you got to remember this king is going to take all your stuff. They're going to send you out to war. They're going to put you out there to die before them. And it's so interesting living in this world today. We see that played out, absolutely played out in the fact that, you know, you've got, you know, what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. You got these, you know, all these different world leaders that are just using people, regular people. I heard something recently, I think it was something from Putin, where he said he was going to pay $60,000 to each family of, if a Russian soldier died, he was going to pay their family $60,000. And I thought, wow, that's really crappy to think your life is only worth $60,000 to this guy. 3% of the world, including Russia and America, 3% of the population have all the money. And so, yeah, of course, they don't like the concept of Christian anarchy. You'll hear a lot of people talk smack about it. A lot of people say bad things about it. I got this tattoo. This is one of the few tattoos I got. And I waited till I was a lot older to get it because I wanted to make sure it was something, if I'm going to put on my body, I want it the rest of my life. And it's it's Christian anarchy tattoo. And because I believe that is the only way that the world will work. That's the only way that I believe that governing a group of people, it doesn't work by having a, power-hungry leader, having the wealthy right now, which when you think about it, I think about most of you that watch this. I mean, you go to work, you have a boss, you have somebody that tells you what to do, and they're telling you these things because they're trying to make money for themselves. And, you're trying to make money for yourself, but they're trying to make money for themselves, and they're making money for the company. And because the company is always first, right? This completely inanimate object, it's what comes first. I mean, it's 25 years in that whole life. I mean, I've managed banks. I've done, in the financial industry. I've dealt with very, very different types of people, but especially I've dealt with wealthy people, and I can tell you, I mean, it's sad the things that I've seen. Right before COVID, I saw managers telling their there are people under them that they have to find ways to get rid of the single moms because they're going to be a problem if they don't end up showing up to work because they got to take care of their kids. And heartless, evil, disgusting things that people do in the name of capitalism. And something that I really wanted to talk about, and it's my new book especially. I talk a lot about social justice. I have a whole chapter on Amish. Sometimes I think I'm a better writer sometimes than a speaker, but Amos in the Bible was a prophet, and he was a social justice warrior. He was, and I write a whole chapter about him. And James, the brother of Jesus, absolutely was a socialist and a social justice warrior. And people don't, especially Christians, they don't really like to think about that. They like capitalism because, which is I don't understand how the church can survive in a capitalist society for this reason. You've got a pastor that has to say the things that he needs to say to keep his congregation coming, because how is he going to get money unless they give him money? So there's a conflict of interest there. I mean, they're not going to say some of the, I'm saying things that I know most pastors won't say, and I understand that. I know I'm on the outside banging on the door to get people to listen. I understand that. I know that in the Bible, most prophets were like that. And I'm not going to call myself a prophet, but I feel like when somebody has something to say that is not the norm, it's out of the ordinary, especially when it comes to the way that the church works, you end up on the outside. I believe that God will find a way to save everyone. That bugs especially the self-righteous. I love the parable that Jesus told. Jesus told a parable about a guy who owned a vineyard, and he hired some people in the morning. And they worked all through the day, and he saw some other people. He go, hey, you want to come work in my vineyard? He hired those guys halfway through the day. And then at the end of the day, he still hired some more people. And then after everything was said and done, he went to go pay. And he paid the people in the beginning the exact same amount of money that he paid the people at the end. And the people at the beginning, they were mad. They said, wait a second. We were here during the heat of the day. We were here through all the hardship, and you're paying us the same thing you're paying these people who just showed up at the end of the day? Yeah. Because God can do what he wants with his vineyard. And plus, what he's paying you is way more than what you're worth anyways. So, I read those stories, and it makes me realize, there's so much self-righteousness in the church that they miss a lot of what is really important here. And yeah, God is going to find a way to save everybody. I mean, whether you like that or believe that or not, God is not going to torment people for all eternity in some, basement with fire. I mean, that's not the God of the Bible. And I talked about that, I think, in one of my some of my last videos. I have a lot of videos also on YouTube. Check out my YouTube channel. It's the same. Adam is God, Eve is us. Take a look at it. You can check it out. I got some longer videos there. Some of the things that the church preaches, I don't believe. But especially when it comes to the church, when they start ponying up, especially I'm going to say this because I went to Liberty University, okay? Liberty University was founded by basically the founder of the moral majority. And I think when Christians get involved in the government in that way, in politics, it gets gross. It gets disgusting. I mean, it's nasty. It gets nasty because that's not where we're supposed to be, because our kingdom is not of this world. Even Jesus said that. He's like, if my kingdom is of this world, then my servants would fight to save me, but it's not. The kingdom of God is within you. It has nothing to do, and I keep grabbing at mosquitoes. I'm not Mr. Miyagi here. I can't take him out of the, I had some chopsticks trying to take him out. No. But Jesus said it, and the problem is with the church, when they start ponying up with these people, they're trying to justify things they shouldn't. Capitalism is not Christianity. Democracy, the way that we run our society, that is not Christianity. That's not what the Bible is about. That's not what Jesus is about. Jesus was a socialist. Jesus was an anarchist. Jesus was very much anti-government. He was anti-establishment. He was definitely anti-religious people. I mean, because gosh, those are the ones that killed them. Oh, I've got a plane flying over. But the problem is a lot of times the church, they find, oh, this guy's a Christian, let's vote for him. Okay, but if his actions aren't the actions that Jesus said that we should take, then I mean, I'm sorry. Jesus said you'll know them by their fruits. And if somebody is saying, hey, vote for this person or vote for that person. I mean, why are you wanting to give up your authority? Paul said this about you. He said, you will judge angels. You'll judge angels. Why are you giving over your authority to a government? Why are you giving over your authority to somebody else? Because Paul said we don't need to do that because we will judge angels. And yes, Jesus said, render unto Caesar what's Caesar. Pay your taxes. Give them what but that's not your kingdom. That is not, because how things are going to change, they're going to change because people decide they're going to change. There are way more than us. And you hear me, if you don't hear anything else I say, the top 3% that James speaks to when he says, rich people weep and howl for the coming judgment because you have ripped off your laborers and kept back wages that they deserve. And then, James, the brother of Jesus, son of God, just in case you forgot, we're not talking about just some random guy named James. I mean, this is a dude that grew up with Jesus. This was his brother. And he said this. He said that the rich, the Lord of hosts, are going to judge you because the wages of the laborers you have not paid properly are crying out. If you're listening to this and you're struggling, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, you know what, things aren't working for me right. God says, hey, have faith, believe it. Things are going to change. They're going to change because we're deciding they're going to change. They're going to change when we decide to do something about it. When we decide that we're done with this. We're done with this society. We're done with the way that things are working. We're done with, I love the lesser of two evils. They're still evil. We're done with that. We're done with presidents. We're done with presidents that want to cause problems. I mean, think about these poor people in Russia right now with this horrible guy. Think about what they're having to deal with. I mean, look, leaders love trying out their new toys, in which she's doing, Leaders love doing it. We did it too. I'm sorry, World War II. We got that atomic bomb. We wanted to find the first people we can drop it on. And since, Hitler was already dead, hey, who else to drop it on than the Japanese? Leaders love trying out their new toys, because that's what they are. They're not, people get power hungry usually when they get to that point. They're not going to do the right things that God wants them to do. They're not. Just look around you. Look at what happened last January. Look at what happened over and over again with different people and different things that have happened in our lives where as somebody who's been around for a while, having a new president or a better president isn't the solution. The solution is Christian Anarchy. So look it up. Look it up. And a lot of people confuse Christian Anarchy with chaos. It's not. It means no other ruler but Jesus. Jesus knew the way to govern people, and he actually laid it out very plainly in Matthew, in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, 6, 7, 8. Just read through those, and he laid it all out. This is the way that we should live. This is the way we should treat each other. And I like how he said this to his followers. You will know them. That the people will know that we are Jesus's followers by our love, not by our votes, not by the president that we support, not by the government that we try to uphold. But think about these same people that we call the Christian right, conservative, moral majority. Some of these people were praising Putin 6, 7, 8 months ago. Great leader, strong leader. You can go look it up. You can see it. See, that's the problem. When you mix politics with Christianity, in my book, I say it's like seeing the butthole of Christianity. It's nasty, it's gross, and it's not something you want to look at. That's the way it is. You can't put the two together. All right. Let me just check real quick and see if I had any questions. No, I have not. So, in my book, I do talk about social justice issues, and I talk about how the church should be at the front of the line. It shouldn't, you hear so much about protests going on, but how many of these protests are led by, Christians who believe what the Bible said and what Jesus said? Non-violent Christians standing in the front of the line to try and make a difference, to try and change the world that we're in. I don't see it, and it's sad. In the Vietnam War, you had the Jesus freaks, and they were out there protesting against the Vietnam War. I don't see a protest anymore. Somehow we have melded the military to Christianity, and supporting our troops has become like, a scripture in the Bible. And that's sad. I mean, war is not what Jesus was about. War was not, and it's sad that so many people, and I'm not judging the people in the military, because a lot of times they get duped into it. I have relatives that have been in the military, close people that have been there, and it's the only way out. They feel that they gotta, they want to go to college, or they want to get out of town. They don't realize they got to go out and shoot random people out in the desert, who literally have nothing to do with us. And so Christians should be at the front of the line of social justice. They should. Christians should be at the front of the line to make sure that the poor are getting proper wages. The whole concept of minimum wage, the whole concept of how we think this. No, we should be the ones pushing it. That, hey, these evil corporations, these heartless, evil corporations, they're not people, they're corporations. That this money does not belong to the top. It belongs to the workers. Because one day, and I'm just going to say this real quick, I'll be done. One day, all of these things will be held accountable. I mean, God's going to judge us. I mean, he said it in James. He told the rich, he said, all those wages that you held back from your workers, they're crying out to the Lord of hosts. The Lord of hosts, that word means like the Lord of the armies of God. I would not want to mess with the Lord of hosts. If you're a rich person out there and you're listening to this, you got to think about that. How did you get your riches? Did you get it on the back of poor people? Did you get it on the backs of, wage slaves? People who went to college and now they have to work because they have to pay back that debt. People who had no other choice but to get debt so they can even, get a house or get a car or get into life. And so now they're forced to work for you because they have no other choice. And you know it. You know they have no other choice. I love the fact that so many people are quitting. I love that. That's amazing. Because ultimately we've got to send a message. We do. We have to send a message. We have to let these people know on top that we are the ones in charge, not them. We have the power, not them. There's more of us. When you're finished with this, go watch Bug's Life. There are more ants than there are grasshoppers. There's more of us than there are of them. And when they take even the stuff we need to survive, it's time that we stop them. When you go to the gas pump and you're paying $6 a gallon, I want you to think about that. Whose fault is that? It's because we have supported a capitalist society that is okay with people changing prices based upon whatever idea they come up with. Because the gas that they put in the ground is the exact same gas that you're pumping. It hasn't changed price, only they decided to change it. Think about that. When you are ready to do something about it, think about Christian Anarchy. Because Christian Anarchy is what's going to change it. It's nonviolent. I'm not pushing violence, but I am. There are ways to change things nonviolently. Martin Luther King, he knew the third way when he did things. He protested. He stood up. He was there. But it wasn't just the protest. It wasn't just the marches. He told everyone, he said, hey, in your communities, if there are stores that will not give you respect, that will not treat you right because you're African American, then don't give them your money. Only give money to black-owned businesses. And that changed something, because that's how you hit people who love money. You hit them in their wallet. Stop spending your money on places that are just going to take advantage of you and the people around you. Stop it. Don't give them your money. That's one of the major things. The third way, nonviolence. The nonviolence. It didn't fix. We're not giving our money to people who are not going to treat their workers correct. When you go into a place of wherever you go to eat, whatever, and you see that the workers aren't happy because of the way they're treated, leave. Go somewhere else. You don't need to eat there. You don't need to spend your money there. Spend your money in places where they're treating their employees right. And ask them. Ask the people, hey, how are they treating you? Are they treating you with respect? Are they paying you a living wage? People that work at Walmart, they don't make enough, to the point to where the government has to supplement what they make and pay for their medical expenses. So the government is literally subsidizing Walmart's profits, instead of Walmart just paying people properly and giving them proper wages and proper health care. So why do we give our money there? Don't give your money to places that are oppressing people, that are taking advantage of people. Don't. And I just think of it like this. We're all humans, and we all have the same desires. We all have the same hopes and dreams. We all want a good life. We want a nice life with our family, and everybody does. And everybody deserves that. The problem is not resources. The problem is allocation. I want to say that again, just gauging it. The problem is not resources. The problem is allocation. All the money that they have withheld that you should have been paid is in their bank accounts. You hear me. The top 3%. All of your money that belongs to you is in their bank accounts. That's where it's at. Right now. That belongs to you. It's yours. But they get to keep it because they're thieves. And they're stealing from you. But James promises there's going to be a day of retribution. So, thanks for tuning in. I'll go live here some other time. It's getting a little dark, and I'm getting eaten up by mosquitoes. So, thanks for tuning in, and catch you here pretty quick again.